Yo, what is going on, guys? We are finally back for another content creator program video, and for the first time this year, I am really excited to make this. There's been some cool champions that, some cool CCP videos on, but nothing that really got me excited and that really made me want to get the champion because they're just that good. Until now. Finally, man, Red Guardian. I'm loving him. I'm absolutely loving him. First of all, he just looks like a beast, man. I love red's my favorite color, so I love the red color scheme. The big beard looks great. I just lost my big beard, but it looks really good. I wish the Black Widow movie was out so we could see this guy in the MCU, but aesthetically, he's awesome. And as far as his abilities go, man, he's got a ton of stuff going for him. Finally, a champion that has a ton of utility and some solid damage output. So in this video, we're going to break down his abilities, kind of like how they could work. Some things that are a little bit like you wouldn't expect to be actually that useful that are. And then we'll show some gameplay, talking about some of his mechanics at the end. And then I'm going to be uploading another video after this, just pure gameplay. So I know a lot of you guys just want to see the gameplay. So there's going to be a lot of I recorded a lot of cool stuff, a lot of cool counters showing off his utility. So you're going to want to check that one out for sure. But if you want to learn a little bit more about him and how he functions, the technical side, we're going to break down some abilities. So, as far as the synergies go, there's a cool one with the Black Widow here. I don't have access to it, but it sounds pretty good. So, while charging a heavy attack, become passively unstoppable for 0.6 seconds, cooldown 10 seconds. So this is actually really good for limber or maybe stun immune, because you want to use his heavy sometimes to refresh some of his debuffs that he applies. And sometimes you're unable to just parry and heavy, so going passively unstoppable could be really big. That's actually a really good synergy. And then there's actually another pretty good one here with Sabretooth. I've been using this one. It's pretty nice. So while the Ablative, am I even saying that right? Ablative in my head. I've never. That's the first time saying it out loud. Ablative. Let's say Ablative shield is fractured. Gain an indefinite passive fury, granting 10% attack rating until the shield is repaired. So you just get a little bit of attack while your shield is getting repaired, which is nice because to do really big damage you have to fracture the shield. So yeah, that's good. While it's recharging you still get a little bit of an attack increase. And then there's one with Omega Red here. Take 50% less damage from incoming attacks while the ablative shield is at max durability. This one could also be pretty useful. And especially if you pair that one up with this one, you can take 50% less damage. So if you get hit while you're passively unstoppable, it'll be reduced by 50% if your shield's at max. So that's cool. Now, Red Guardian, he's actually very unique in his signature ability. That it's based on every 40 levels for one component of it. So there's 3 components to his signature, and just increasing it by 1, 2, 3, 6 stones is going to increase 2 components, but one component is increased every 40 levels, which is kind of a new thing. Which is the first component, which we'll get into. So maximum durability for the ablative shield is increased by +1 for every 40 signature levels obtained, max increase of +5. So this is actually really good. Because the shield normally stacks to a max of 10, so with this you can get it up to 15 at max sig as a 5-star, and you want those extra points in the shield. It's very useful. So max sig is going to be very important on Red Guardian, or getting him to a high sig at least. Now, the other components are well-timed blocks have a 100% chance to prevent a durability loss, which is also insane. Really good. If you're hitting parries, your shield isn't going to be getting fractured or just losing charges. It's really nice. And then trauma, slow, and vulnerability debuffs last 30% longer, and all of these debuffs are extremely useful. Trauma and vulnerability really increase damage, and slow is just so good utility-wise in certain matchups. So the signature ability is pretty important. You're definitely going to want to get him awakened if possible, and max sig. He's still good without being awakened, but it's really nice to have him awakened. You get some really nice benefits. So let's talk about this shield. So Red Guardian can't gain buffs. Now, I'm sure reading this, you're just like, oh, he can't gain buffs. That's weird. And, it's like, you might think that's a negative. That's actually a huge positive, man. Just Red Guardian cannot gain buffs. In any circumstance, this guy can't get buffs. And it's actually really, really good because that counters so many nodes and abilities in the game that are powered by buffs. For example, Mystic Dispersion. The opponent can't gain power from Mystic Dispersion because you don't get buffs. And in the gameplay video coming out after this, there's some really cool fights where this ability is just awesome, man. So not being able to gain buffs is actually crazy, and it's actually useful. There's a couple of downsides in certain matchups, of course, but I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons in this. So whenever a buff attempts to trigger, he gains +1 durability for his ablative shield instead, cooldown 0.8 seconds. So this is how you build up the shield. You gain buffs. And like I say, he doesn't gain buffs, so all you gotta do is use dexterity. So just dex, wait 0.8 seconds, dex, and you're just gonna keep building up the shield. And so the more that you build up the shield, so the ablative shield starts at each fight at 9 durability and can stack up to a maximum of 10, but with max sig, 15. Each blocked hit removes 1 durability, unless you're max sig, and then parries don't lose durability, so that's really useful, again, to being awakened. And so for each stack of durability, this increases perfect block chance by 5%. Perfect blocks reduce incoming damage to 0. The perfect block on this guy is insane, man. It's awesome. It's really, really good. And with when the shield, while the shield is intact, Red Guardian can block heavy and unblockable attacks and gains 1300 block proficiency. So you can actually block unblockable attacks, which is pretty crazy. And blocking heavy or unblockable attack reduces the shield durability to 0. However, all hits of the incoming attack can be blocked. So this is pretty much your get out of jail free card. You screw up, you accidentally take a heavy or an unblockable hit, you're gonna block it, but then your shield's fractured. But I'd say that's worth it. And so when reaching 0 durability, the shield is fractured, entering cooldown for 8 seconds. This cooldown increases by 300% each time a fracture occurs. When cooldown ends, the shield is repaired at 7 durability. So on fracture, carbonadium shards from the ablative shield burst onto the opponent, inflicting a stun debuff for 1.9 seconds. Inflict a trauma debuff for 3 seconds. Trauma causes each hit to deal an additional 70% of the damage recently dealt as a burst physical damage, max 3 stacks. So this trauma is a way to really increase your damage. And you might be thinking, well, the only way I can do that is on fracture. And that's true, but there's a really easy way to fracture your shield on purpose, which we'll get to. So heavy attacks gain 200 attack rating for each unique debuff on the opponent. Refresh all slow, vulnerability, and trauma debuffs on the opponent. Notice here, trauma is listed. That's the one where you increase your damage. So you can just keep refreshing those. And again, with the signature ability, these debuffs last much longer. So that's really nice why you want to be awakened. So the special attack 1 is how you apply the slow debuff. So on activation, inflict a non-stacking slow debuff for 12 seconds. Reducing the ability actually the opponent's unstoppable and evade effects by 100%. Opponents with a natural class advantage cannot be slowed, so skill champions in this case. While the opponent is suffering from slow, Red Guardian's power rate is increased by 25%. So this is the reason why you want to just slow any opponent, because you increase your power rate, which is really nice because you want to be getting specials. And so the special attack 2, so this is how you fracture your shield on purpose and how you get off some big damage. So on activation, if the ablative shield was intact, gain 400 attack rating throughout the special. If this attack strikes the opponent, the ablative shield is fractured, removing all durability. Each stack of durability removed grants an additional 177.12 attack rating to each hit of this attack. During this attack, any debuff inflicted lasts 100% longer. So there's a lot to unpack here. So the higher durability of your shield, the harder this special 2 is going to hit. So ideally, at 15 durability, you hit them with this attack, and then it fractures it. So you're going to get more attack for all those durability stacks. You're going to get more attack for having the shield intact. And then right here, this line, so during this attack, any debuffs inflicted last 100% longer. And since you're fracturing your shield here, if you go back to the on fracture text here, you're going to be applying a trauma debuff. Now notice this trauma debuff only lasts 3 seconds normally, but on the special 2, it's 100% longer, so that's 6 seconds. And then you pair this up with the signature ability, and it's another 30% increase. So it's an even longer trauma debuff, and you can keep refreshing this trauma debuff with the heavy attack. So you can keep one trauma up for the entire fight. That's not too difficult. And this stacks up to 3, which gets pretty crazy. It's pretty difficult to keep more than one up for a long period of time, but keeping up 1 isn't too difficult. And then there's also the special 3, so a way to increase your damage even more. So if the Ablative Shield is active, its durability is set to max. If the Ablative Shield is fractured, its cooldown ends immediately. So this is really good for long fights because, like it said earlier, if you're in a really long fight, every time the shield fractures, the cooldown increases by 300%. So that could eventually get extremely long, but instead you can just use your special 3 and boom, you end that cooldown immediately. So on the special 3, you have a 100% chance to inflict the stun debuff for almost 2 seconds. And now this is the really cool thing. Inflict a non-stacking vulnerability debuff for 20 seconds. When attacking a vulnerable opponent, increase critical damage rating by 1125 and decrease their block efficiency by 50%. So this is basically just going to make you crit harder. And so what I like to do is get the vulnerability debuff up on the opponent, and then build my my shield to max charges, then go for a special 2, get the trauma going. You can get some really solid damage output. It's really awesome, but I like to start the fight with a special 1 to apply that slow, and then the opponent's slowed. You can keep the slow for the entire fight, keep refreshing it with the heavy attack, and this increases your power grade. So a lot of abilities that we just went over, but they're really good. So now let's get into this gameplay so you guys can kind of see, visualize what I'm talking about. Alright, what's up guys, we're back. And so we're jumping into Realm of Legends where there's the Juggernaut. And so my team, I have Nick Fury here for a little bit more attack, Sabretooth for the attack rating while our shield is deactive, Omega Red to reduce some incoming damage, and then Mr. Fantastic, we apply 3 of his debuffs. So Cam actually thought of this, because on the heavy attack, your attack is increased for each debuff on each unique debuff on the opponent. So we're gonna get a little bit more attack rating on the heavies. So we're gonna jump into this Juggernaut fight, and I do have suicides active here. One thing to keep in mind. So the heavy attack, just one thing about it is it's really good. Like the range of it, the feel of it, the speed of it, you know, it's really nice. Like because on a champion like Mr. Fantastic, he's neutered a little bit because of his heavy attack, which doesn't really have the reach, and you can't spam it in the corner. But Red Guardian has a really good heavy attack. Love it. So we dropped the special 1. Now we have that slow debuff applied. We can keep refreshing it with the heavy attack. And boom, like we just don't have to worry about unstoppable in this fight, you know, or if there's evasion, we just wouldn't have to worry about it. This guy's gonna be really good against like the Footloose node. And so now we're gonna go for the special 3. We're gonna go ahead and apply the vulnerability debuff, so that's gonna increase our critical damage rating. Whenever we crit, we'll just be doing more critical damage. Got a pretty cool looking special 3 here. And he's stunned a bit, so now our shield is at max charge. You see it kind of went green, it's at 15. And so look at every parry, man. Look at that perfect block. It's so nice, and our shield isn't getting any fractures from taking a blocked hit because of that signature ability. So now we're gonna go for this special 2, 14k, 10k, and then 34k, 24k. The numbers in red are from that trauma debuff. And you can see we got all these debuffs going, and we can keep them active. You know, it's not the easiest thing to do, but we're keeping all of them active. It's really the trauma one that's the shortest and can fall off kind of easily. Yeah, we're gonna go for another special 2 here, and boom, now we have another stack of trauma. So we're just doing even more damage in red. Like I said, those can stack up to 3. That heavy attack did like 27k. And another thing to keep in mind is this is only a rank 3 5-star champion, guys. This is a rank 3 5-star. Imagine this guy at 565. So much utility with some nice damage. It's a great combination. It's really great, man. Got hit a little bit there, and you see the debuffs fall off. The fracture one, that's the really tricky one to keep active. But the vulnerability and the slow, they're pretty easy to keep active. And the slow is the most important one, arguably, in certain matchups when you really need that active. So, yeah, man, really love it. And our heavy attack damage just increased with those Mr. Fantastic debuffs. But yeah, as you can see, like he's hitting pretty good for rank 3 5-star. and there's so much utility that this guy has. It's great. And like I said, the utility of just not being able to gain buffs is actually really cool. It's a pretty niche ability, and it makes him, for example, immune to nullify. He can't be nullified. He's not immune to nullify, but he can't be nullified because he doesn't. There's no buffs to be nullified, So he's essentially immune to nullify, which is just kind of cool, And there's just a lot of nodes that he can bypass with that, which I'll be showing, like I said, in my next video, which pure gameplay. But yeah, this Juggernaut almost down here. We kept up the vulnerability and the slow debuff for the entire fight. It was super easy to keep up. So yeah, just some really cool stuff coming out of Red Guardian. 117 hits, not bad. But yeah, that's going to do it for this content creator program video. Hope you guys enjoyed. A lot of talking, a lot of explaining, but I hope it helped you understand. And if you're not a fan of that, if you just want to see that gameplay, be on the lookout for the next video. You're going to enjoy it. Some cool gameplay, high level gameplay, late Act 6 stuff, some difficult variant stuff. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, drop me a like. It really helps me and the channel out to get this video out to more people. Subscribe if you'd like to see more. Thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out.